All right.
All right, welcome back.
Yeah, same. Welcome back. So why don't we look at what we can do in terms of mutual interest by mapping it out maybe on this whiteboard in terms of use, assignment, and subletting and see where we stand. Maybe I can use one part, you can use the other part, and then we can work it
Sure.
out together.
Let's do that.
All right. Let's see. About half. They start with use. Then here we have assignments. And here. Okay. Okay.
All right.
So why don't you want to start
Sure.
going through your proposal and then I'll go through mine and see?
Sure, sure. Okay, so in terms of use,
Mm-hmm.
as we talked before, we want to maintain the character of the multipurpose, and this means we don't want any downgrading quality of the stores. Um, yeah, so in case, uh, yes, I think this is the main part, and also if you have any, because you're reacting to different trends in the market and stuff, and we understand that you need to do this to maintain a competitive business. The only thing we would like to be is notified in advance about any changes in your product line, right? We're proposing 6 months, and the reason is we can prepare other businesses within the multipurpose to take on this new, let's say, supply of products if they are in the same business. And also, if they decide to leave the multipurpose, that gives us time to look for another brand to take this space. That's in terms of use. In terms of assignment, um, uh, okay, so we're proposing 15 years before any change in brand summit. Um, and the reason is we want you to be our anchor store, and we want to maintain this relationship in the long term, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, if Summit decides to change after 15 years, um, yeah, like we need an anchor company also in this place. So you would need to secure a company that has the same brand prestige and that can attract the similar traffic to our multipurpose.
Mm-hmm.
That's in terms of assignment. And finally, sublet. We're proposing 80% of the space has to remain Summit, in case you decide to assign to another brand, high quality. But we need 80% to be the main brand. Yes, and in terms of Sule, we want participation on the selection from a pool of stores
Mm-hmm.
proposed by Summit, and we want to be able to decide in a joint way the stores that will be participating inside of your space.
Okay.
This is our initial proposal.
Just one question before I go into my proposal. When you say 15 years before any change in brand, what do you mean? That you we'll have to secure that we will be there at least for the first 15 years. Is
With
that
your brand, yeah.
and then we can assign
Then you can
someone else.
assign to someone else.
Okay. I just wanted that clarification.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let me walk you through my proposal. Well, as I mentioned when we were discussing our interest, I think in terms of use, that's our key area of focus. And I think that, we discussed that if there is a healthy competition, that's going to be mutually beneficial. You're going to get more traffic, you can get more percentage rent or based on the sales. And I also told you that, of course, our strategy has always been high quality. So in terms of character, I think that we are on the same page. So honestly, I don't think that there is anything that I can do there because I see that you put notify in advance 6 months to organize with the satellite. I will bear that in mind. But besides that, I don't see a lot of room because we need that flexibility to adapt. In terms of assignment, I understand where you're coming from when you say we need to have someone that can attract the similar traffic. And in fact, in my proposal was that in case we decide to lease the entire contract to a new assignee, we will have to find an assignee with the same credit rating that we have. So it's an assurance for you that it will be able to cover like all the rent, and it will be able also to generate the extra percentage rent for the lease. Um, but if we do this, like when we find this assignee, we will only send you in terms of like we will notify you that this guy is the new assignee, and we will send you like the documentation demonstrating that it has our same credit rating at the time that we sign this agreement. So we won't need any approval there, but only like we'll send you the documentation of acknowledgement. And in terms of subletting, we were thinking that the maximum amount that we can sublet is 70%. So basically a little bit on the opposite direction where you were going. But I understand from what you said that you were also concerned about how fractioned the space would be. So we can guarantee you that the minimum size that we will sublet will be equal to the smallest satellite space that you have. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's self-explanatory. And I mean, I'm open to discussing a potential benchmark that we can use because I understand that subletting for assignment, we can find someone with the same credit rating, and I think we are on the same page there. But for benchmarking in terms of subletting, to give you assurance that it will have the same quality and the same character, I'm open to discuss that, but we will need to understand what kind of benchmark we would use there.
Okay, I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
I think the part of use is pretty aligned. Um, what I'm worried about in terms of the assignment, you're talking about same credit rating, which doesn't really mean it has the same brand name, right? The brand prestige. You can have a good credit rating and have a shitty brand, or a less, let's say, impactful brand as yours. So we would like to change a little bit this definition. Like we're really trying to make an anchor with your store, and we would like, in case you assign it to a different one, we would like to maintain this anchor status, which is mainly driven by the brand name, right? So this is something very important for us. In terms of the sublet, yes. So this worries me because we're trying to drive traffic, and if all of a sudden 70% of the space we're subletting to you is for different brands, then we're not really reaching our goal, which is bring traffic, right?
Well, they might. Like, it's just subletting to someone else, like, doesn't mean that they're not going to be able to bring traffic. Actually, they might increase it. Because if they have like a good strategy and we see that, for example, part of our space, we underuse it, we can actually sublet it to someone that will be able to increase the traffic.
Yes, but the people or the people that we're trying to drive into the multi-purpose, we're trying to anchor this with your brand, right? So, yeah, like having a 30% of your brand in this area, we see it difficult. And then I don't know. Can you explain again the benchmark?
Well, because you said that you want to participate in the selection of the sublettee. So I mean, let's imagine that I want to sublet like 10% of my space, for example, and I have 5 offers from 5 different brands. How do we decide which one is best?
So yeah, that's a good question. For me, one of the important things that we want to maintain is a healthy mix of the kinds of businesses that we have in the multi-purpose. So this can be part of the benchmark. I don't know, just to give an example, if we have already two athletic companies, we don't want another one, right? Because then we're putting our other partners in a difficult situation. So this could be one of the things we could use as a benchmark. And then I'm open to suggestions in what other things you want to use as a benchmark.
So for you is more in terms of how complementary they will be.
Exactly.
Only that. Well, I mean, on that we can.
And also we agree that we want to maintain quality, right? So we don't want any, like uh, low quality brands suddenly
Yeah.
being in our sublet.
How do we define quality? That's the because the mix. I understand that we can uh, look at the different strategies, look at how many shops you have in one industry, let's say, and you can say like I think this is more complementary for what we have, and we can agree or disagree, let's say. But that's easy. But in terms of measuring the quality of the shop, what can we use to measure if it's the right quality for you? That like I might say this brand is actually perfectly fine for your store, and you may disagree with that.
I can think about one, and we can define the stores in terms of the consumer segment they are trying to tap in, right? So with this project, we're basically trying to attract, let's say, high middle class, and high class, right? High income, affluent people. So I would say this could be used as a criteria to decide the brands that we bring into the multi-purpose. They have to be focused on these segments, and in that way we ensure that they are good quality brands.
So basically, on the consumer segment, they focus on
Yes.
because you don't want like a lower level of. Okay, well then we can use. I think there might be some studies, or we can agree on. I don't think we need to specify each criteria as long as we will put and edit the article in a way that we we specify what we're looking at in terms of an indicator or something that looks at only companies targeting this kind of
Yes, this segment.
population
Yeah.
segment. Well, that's fine with me. I mean, for for use, I mean, I agree. Like, if it's just in terms of notifying you that we will change the use of part of our space, I think it's fair.
Okay.
Um, but again, it will be just for acknowledgement. It will be just for communication.
Yeah, definitely.
We
This
will
is
need
yeah.
your approval. Yeah.
We understand your businesses, and we want to do this to prepare other businesses
Yeah.
within the
Which
multi-purpose.
which I think is fair. Like
Yeah.
you will have enough time to prepare in advance to.
To renegotiate contracts, to do other kinds of stuff.
I think that's fair.
And we're willing to allow you to have the flexibility you need in your business.
That's fine. For assignments, you said on top of the credit rating, you want someone that has the same brand power.
Yes.
Um, so how can we do that? Because that is also something kind of like this kind of benchmarking where we will need some indicator where, because for me, like ensuring that they have the same credit rating, I thought it would give you enough assurance that
they can pay.
Yeah.
That's right, and that's important for us. But as I mentioned at the beginning, we're giving away some of the rent that we could be getting from yours, because we want your brand. Yeah, that's what we're really after. So we want to maintain this in case you decide to assign the space to someone different. We want to maintain this brand. And also, we didn't touch this, but I think it's important. I forgot to put it here. If you decide to assign to a new another brand, we would need to maintain the same kind of control over this brand, right?
So like the same term
Basically the same terms, yeah.
or something that it's on top of like the other ones. Let's see, same terms for the assignee. Because of course, for me, once we give it to the assignee, like it's their business. But I mean, we can look at that in terms of trying to find the right mix. Well, Brian, let's think about how we can use, let's say, an objective standard to, because you're looking not only for chains like ours that are local, like you wouldn't mind if it's, I don't know, an American chain that is coming here. Okay.
No, I guess, and yeah, let's think about it. It should be a top company. Like you're a top company in the market, so we're expecting the same from this part of the business.
How can we measure? Because this is easy to measure.
Yes.
It's just like looking up like the credit rating, so we're fine on the financial side that you will be covered. In terms of brand weight, how can we ensure we either need to discuss, we either need like a joint review for that. So as long as we meet the same credit rating criteria, let's say if we have 5 offers, let's say from 5 different new assignees, we will decide together which one is the best one.
Yeah, that could work, I think.
That could work.
Yeah,
Okay, so
definitely.
but this, okay, well, and this is a big thing for us because, of course, imagine that we have to find a company that has our same credit rating. So for us, it's going to be also a lot of work on that side. But I understand that you have some needs, financial needs that need to be covered.
Exactly.
So in terms of brand, let's say joint review of options. I mean, I think that if we have a few options with the right credit rating, I'm sure that we will find
Exactly, a very good company.
So let's go to subletting, because I think here we're pretty much also.
Do you agree with this point? The 15 years?
Oh, yeah. That's, yeah,
important.
sorry, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That, I don't know. To be honest, I don't think that we will be able to tell you in advance that for the first 15 years, we'll be able to not to give it away to a new assignee. Because again, imagine that like in 10 years, the whole area, like the whole IT industry shifts from Northeast Amsterdam or whatever we are to Utrecht, and all our customer base is focusing on that customer level. It's going to be difficult.
Yeah, but that's why it's not 20 years. Like, I think it's a region that's starting to develop, and it's highly unlikely that in 10 years it becomes like worthless.
From our research, is that there is a discrete possibility that it will not withstand the long term.
What's the possibility?
Huh?
What's the probability? Do you have it?
No, I don't have a number. I'm not going to make up a number. I'm just saying, but it says that there is a discrete possibility. And by discrete, I would say, if I had to throw a number, I would say like a 15-20% chance, which is a big risk because we're talking about a contract that is 30 years old.
Yeah, but after 15 years, you have the possibility to manage the business and manage your risk as you want. Like.
What I can propose for that, let me terms of time, because you also want to have a say into this, because we will have already a joint approval. So if we will have a joint approval and we will have to find the same credit rating, I don't think I can also be limited in terms of time.
Yeah, the thing, I'm gonna be honest here, completely. We're trying to find funding for this project, right?
Yeah.
And the only way we can access to this funding is bringing you guys in, or a similar brand, in terms of power, in terms of image. And we need to give assurance to our funder that to our funding company that this is gonna be driving revenue and driving sales in our multi-purpose.
That's why I inserted the same credit rating, because if we find, let's say, if 5 years time, I know it's a low possibility, like 20% possibility. Let's say that the area won't develop as we expect, we will still be liable to find you a new assignee with the same credit rating that will be able to cover and like the same cost that we have in this lease. So in terms of financially speaking, you have already that assurance, no matter, regardless if it's us or someone else.
Yeah, but the thing, you're thinking short term in here, and as I said like a couple of times, we're not really interested in or we're not, our priority is not getting the rent from you. Like that's why we're making some concessions and giving you some some advantages, like having someone who can pay. You can bring Walmart and you can bring fucking Saks Fifth Avenue, and they can have the same credit rating, but the businesses they're running is very different, right?
Yeah, but that's related to the branding. So let's say that we agree here that there will be joint review for Wright brand. Okay. So I understand that you want that quality, but this, like, you're covered in terms of financial, you're covered in terms of branding here. I cannot say like that for the first 15 years, I will not be able to assign the entire lease to someone else if I will be already finding you someone that financially is fine, and in terms of brand, you will also get a say with that. So this applies to no matter point in time.
But this, from my understanding of our initial proposal, this is already under the current terms. Like, if you decide to change, your liability coverage is still there. Like, this is not part of the thing we're trying to negotiate here.
Yeah, it is. Because like under our proposal of assignment, I have total flexibility to assign it to no matter who.
Yeah, but you have you also secure to pay all the liabilities of
if that person doesn't match the basic rent.
So this, at least in my understanding, takes out the credit rating out of the equation, because even though you find someone who is not able to pay, you're still liable to pay this under the current contract. So that's why we're more interested in,
but then
the brand.
But then the character and like the overall operations will go down. So like if I find you someone with the same credit rating, implicitly I will also make sure that the character stays the same.
This is covering your risk, not mine.
Huh? No, it's your risk. That's character.
It's your, because you're gonna be liable for someone else's operation. So this is in your best interest, both of us.
Yeah, I mean, for me it's added work, because if I go with what our normal section 22 goes, I can assign it to anyone. Then I'm liable. If they don't cover the basic rent, I'm liable for that. I'll have to cover the basic rent. But you say that you were concerned not only in terms of financial, but also in terms of character. And if I find you someone with the same credit rating, you should be assured that in the long term, you will definitely match all your
I'm already
financial.
assured on that.
Because I will cover you.
Yes.
But what about the character?
That's why I'm saying this is this is in both of our company's interests. The thing I'm saying is, for me, this is short term, right? For me, long term, and what we want to maintain is the brand name. That's the real value, and that's why we're not inviting Walmart to this project, right? They are a great company, they have great credit rating, but they don't meet our expectations in terms of brand. And
that's why I agree. That's why I agree that we should review brands together and we'll pick. But my point is, the problem here is the timing. Because if I do this and if I do this, then why do I have to stick to 15 years to the contract?
Yeah,
we will find together who is the right one for you.
Yeah, I understand that, but I need, I have I cannot tell a founding partner, like we were gonna have a summit maybe for the next 2 or 5 years, and then they're gonna change, and then they're gonna. This is not good for a good signal for raising up money, right? We need to give some stability to the founder to say, okay, for the next 15 years, that 15 years is our first proposal, right? But we need to give some time frame of security to the founding partner of us to say, okay, at least for the next 15 years, these guys are going to maintain a stable business with same brands, with everything in place. And that's the way we're going to get access to funding. Like if I go right now and tell them, okay, this store...
You have a contract that says that we agree to 30-year lease.
Yeah, 30 years.
That's already guaranteed.
30-year lease, but as I was saying, this is part of our business. Housing is part of our business, where we're managing a whole range of different companies, which are highly related to the quality we can bring to the.
I understand your point about the brand, but let's think it of this way. We're great at what we do. We have done several projects with the maximum flexibility because we know how to run our business. Let's say the worst case scenario, there is a very slight possibility, but let's take that into account because this is what we're looking at. Because if everything goes well, we go on for 30 years and we're good. If in 5 years I'm not able to make the revenue that I would like to generate from our operations, why would you want me to stick for another 10 years?
But then how long is your business case like? In 5 years, are you able to invest and recover all your money?
No, like our business, like we know that for 30 years, we're gonna this is a 30 years contract, right?
No, but
I'm looking at like the worst case scenario.
No, I'm interested in your brand. Like if you make an investment today, let's say open a new brick and mortar store, are you ready to take it out in 5 years? This is my question.
If I'm making a loss on it, like why should I keep going for another 10 years? And I think that's in our mutual interest. Like, why would you keep me as your, let's say, for another 10 years, knowing that I'm not generating what I was supposed to or what I expected to with my business case? So I think the fact that we will have flexibility to assign it to someone that has the same credit rating, and you will pick basically, or will pick jointly, the brand to substitute us, and it's in our joint interest. Because what is your advantage in having us for 15 years if we're not making money as we thought we were?
I mean, I'm thinking about the traffic, not really we want to make both money, right?
Yeah.
But bringing like your brand and your company, your stores bring a lot of people, and that's good for all the other businesses in here.
Here the scenario is that we normally do that. We're talking about the worst case scenario where we are not able to bring in traffic. So we go into a slippery slope of failure where I am tied contractually to stay for 15 years, Well, you could actually replace, like, I could actually find you someone that will be able to manage this better. So, I mean, why do I have to be tied for 15 years before I can assign it to someone else? I mean, of course, like, my interest is to stay there for 30 years. Like, that's what I want to do. But I have to think about, like, for me, this is the key term, is flexibility. I have to I have to be able to adapt in a way that if anything happens, I don't go like in a loss for 10 years. And the thing is that if I go in a loss for 10 years, you will also go in a loss for 10 years.
Yeah, but you have flexibility here.
Yeah.
We've given you this concession. Um, you want flexibility here also. Like your business sounds like it's not stable. Like if you're only looking for flexibility, you don't have a stable business in which you can say, okay, we're sure that in the next 10 years we have a stable operation.
If I were looking for only flexibility, I would never sign like a 30 years agreement. So we just want to make sure like we have a long-term agreement with a common vision, driving traffic, high quality people to serve like this community. And I think we're all in line. But of course, within that structure, I need to be able to manage my operations in a way that makes sense for my company. And I think that by doing this, you will have already a say in who you are going to, like what brand you want. You said what, I understand what you were saying. When you say, of course, I can get a Walmart here, but having Walmart won't attract me like Louis Vuitton and the other guys, Nike, Adidas, that you have attracted. Fair point. Fair point. That's why I also agreed that on top of the financials, you will also pick like the brand name that you think is better. But I cannot do that after 15 years if by the 7th year, or even if it's like the 10th year or 12th year. Why do I have to keep going for 3 years in a loss where I can find you someone that will generate more money for you and for your business?
I mean, that's because you're thinking about your business. I'm thinking about a joint business in which we're two people or two companies trying to make things work out. And I was telling you that for me to secure funding, maybe let's not talk 15 years. It can be different, but I need to secure to my partners that you're gonna be present in this project for some time frame. I cannot tell them like, yeah, if in 5 years things don't go as we expected, then they're gonna leave us, ditch us. You clean your hands, bring another partner, and then I have to deal with a different person.
And also, I think it's fair, like to say that if we give it to a new assignee, the same terms and conditions will have to apply. So you won't have to renegotiate anything.
Yeah, but I'm dealing with some new person. I'm gonna have to understand a new business, new ways of working, new ways of doing things. And yeah, maybe they don't. I don't know. They come in and they don't like three of the other satellite companies we have here. Maybe they put them out of business. You know, there's a lot of things in stake, and we need to secure business funding for this project. And the only way I'm gonna secure it is by having a comprehensible time frame which you can commit to say, okay, we're gonna be with our brand in this place for the next years.
Don't you think that by adding the same terms and conditions will apply to your assignee will grant you the same thing?
I agree, but if you, I can say anything, but if I go back to my funder, he's not gonna buy it. Like,
why? It's in writing.
no,
Don't put this in writing.
he's not gonna be because he needs this security. He needs to have your brand for X or a brand in the similar position as you from the beginning for an amount of years.
But you have that. We'll have a contract of like 30 years.
No,
So this is just like in the worst case scenario. We're talking about just guaranteeing us the flexibility in the worst case scenario. Because if everything goes well, I don't want to assign this to anyone. Like I want to keep growing within the thing. So I'm just talking about this worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario, I think, like, it's going to be in your interest as well to make more money. And having us be replaced by someone that is able to generate more money for you. So
Yeah, but this is in the future. Like right now, what I need to secure funding for this project, the whole project to go on, is some kind of security that we will have your brand for a fixed amount of time during this 30 years contract.
mm, you're killing me here. Huh?
Like if you tell me this is priority for us, and we can even think about this that we haven't thought about yet. We can make some concessions in this.
Let's put this aside for the moment and let's look at the other stuff, no?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, subletting.
Subletting.
So that we have to keep at least 80%. I think that we can sublet maximum 70%. So
But let's keep on the same line of thinking. Let's work on the worst case scenario. I don't know. Let's say you're working with only 30% of your space in your brand, and then this happens. Then I'm bringing another brand and only have 30%, and then what happens to all these guys?
I think these are like alternatives. I either give it all away, like the assignment, like I just assign it to someone else, or within I keep the operations, but I sublet parts of my operations to someone else. And I think that I should be able to sublet maximum 70%. I mean, normally we would have flexibility to do whatever we want. Like that's the starting point. If we would have to retain minimum 80%, I'm just going to be able to sublet 20% of it, which is nothing. I consider that we have the biggest space in your rental.
That's the way we want it. Like we don't. I mean, if we would be trying to get more satellite companies, we can do it. But we want you to have the biggest space in the multi-purpose. And
we
you do have it.
We do.
And we want you to maintain it. I mean, 70%. I think it's a lot. I think you can do better.
How much better do you want me to do though?
Like, I mean, we want you to be part of this, like, really, really committed. And for me, 70 is low commitment from your side. Like, you're just trying to, for me, or how I see it is you're trying to test if this is going to work out. And if not, you already have an easy way out.
No, because normally we have the maximum flexibility. So I already went down 30% for a 70% maximum subletting space. But like, what do you have in mind? Because clearly there's a big gap between 20% and 70%. So if we would work something realistic,
like for me, if I want to see commitment, you have to like maximum 40%.
Maximum 40%.
Yeah.
This was about, this is just like the benchmark.
Yeah, the benchmark.
I think that's very low still.
Let me understand your plan. Why do you want to have 70% of space to sublet?
Same line of reasoning. It's not that I will sublet it. I just want to have the flexibility to sublet it up to 70%. Again, we need to adapt to the markets. And if I find that out of 20 square meters room that I have for myself, I can actually make the operations more efficient and use half of it that. I can use the other half to sublet it to someone else who will increase value, will increase like traffic, and it's also in your interest. So that's why like it's just in terms of flexibility to adapt to the different um, trends in the market and to maximize the space based on what the market trends are. Because now we're looking at something really good in terms of demographics, but in 10 years' time, 15 years' time, 20 years' time, we don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. We can try to make it progressive so that you have the flexibility in time, right?
All right.
Let's say,
Let's say one thing. Do we agree on this? The minimum size is equal, must be equal to the smallest available space.
yeah, for me that works.
All right. If this works, um, we can do at least like 60%.
But why don't we do it progressive? Like I need to be, let's say, in the next 15 years, 10 years, I need to have a stable business that's not changing because that's the nature of my business. I understand that you're in a very dynamic market, dynamic business in which things change.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing investments for 30 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is part of our disagreement when we're trying to work out here. Taking this into account, like I don't know, maybe the next 5 years for you are more, let's say, clear than the next 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
If in the next 5 years you don't have or you're not expecting to have many changes, then you can say, okay, I'm gonna maintain 80%. Let's say. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
In the next, I don't know, by year 7 you can sublet up to 60%. In the year 10 you can sublet or make it progressive so that you can adapt to the different situations in the market and you give me the security I need to operate this business in the short term.
I think that's a very valid proposition.
Yeah. In that way we can work it out.
So let's look at the range of time and amount of sublet that because yeah, I mean, for now, business looks good, so we're on the same page. I'm pretty sure that like the next 3-5 years,
mm-hmm.
we won't probably have like that much problem or need to sublet.
Yes, exactly.
So let's say
maybe you want to build
look at like 30 years time.
Yeah.
Do we agree that we start like the maximum with 70, but it has to be split?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so
I don't know what's the time frame of your, but maybe do it by 5 years.
Yeah.
Does it work for you?
If we do 10, it would be. I mean, this game is not right. But okay. So yeah, maybe like 5, 10. Yeah. I think this might be better.
Yeah.
All right. So what would you propose?
So in this part of the business, how much can you commit? Like we were striving for the 80%. Do you think you can commit to this space? To keep it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have this. From year 5 to 10, how do you feel like? How much flexibility do you want to have?
Well, let's think that if this is going to be, let's work it the other way around.
Okay, it works.
So if let's say this is up to 70%,
yeah,
and we have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mm-hmm.
And the starting point is 20. So we have to split like a 50% difference. So this would be 30, 40,
40.
50, 60, 70, no?
Mm-hmm.
30, 40, 50, yeah, that works. 30, 40, 50, 60. So for the first 5 years, I'm going to be able to sublet maximum
20%.
20%. By year 10, maximum 30%. By year 15, maximum 40. By year 20, maximum 50. By year 25, 60. And between, this should be like,
Yes.
because this has to be 70,
Yes.
basically. So maybe I can give you more stability at the beginning.
Yeah, it works, and then ramp it up faster at the.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, let's say this is the important time frame. So, yeah. So we
Okay,
agree.
so for the first 10 years, we can keep it like this.
Okay.
So maximum 30
Okay.
here, so
30.
we'll have 40 divided by 1, 2, and 3. 40 divided by 3. Makes sense. It's like 13.5.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be 43.3, and this would be 56. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
And from 25th year till the 30th, it's going to be maximum 70%.
Yeah.
From here, it's going to be up to the 20. Yeah. From here to here is going to be between 56 and 70.
Yeah. That's yeah. That works.
That works. So you have more stability at the beginning.
Yeah. And then you can. That's
Okay. So we agree. Oh, the benchmark for the right mix and quality.
Mm-hmm. So I think we have three key indicators. One is a healthy mix.
Yeah.
So in let's say
They complement.
yeah, we try to see which brands complement. The next one is the quality of the brands, and this we're gonna define it in terms of the consumer segment, right? So we want to bring companies that target affluent and let's say middle class consumers to remain in the same level of.
All right. To do that, or do we agree that a third party will conduct that research to
Yes.
segment where they lie and okay. And the right mix, because that could be tricky. Because the third party, well, I mean, like both of them can actually be done by a third party.
Mm-hmm.
Like we'll give them like a contract whenever we have to do like a sublet to analyze if they are more in competition or complementary to some of the satellites,
Exactly.
and also like what segment they are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we have to do something because if they are complementary and in the right segment, right? I won't need to have your approval. That should go automatically.
Automatic.
if one of the other variable is in
Yeah, in
conflict,
conflict, then we need to
then we'll
discuss.
have to a joint decision.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, the only thing I would like to see for the first case in which you just make the decision is the results of this third party making the analysis and just making sure that it's in line.
Okay, yeah, of course. Like whenever the third party will be done, we will share the
Yeah,
findings.
exactly. Okay, and then
If if they say this company X is complementary to whatever mix you have, and the segment is the right one, no need for like we'll just give you like a acknowledgement, let's
yeah,
say, of the research. If either one is not minimum, like at least one is not fine, we'll have to sit down and have a joint discussion to decide how to move forward.
definitely. Okay.
Now, where are we?
I think this is the last point that we have, right?
Well, I would say considering that we are giving up maximum 30% in the first 10 years, you can be assured that we'll be there, no?
Yes. I think. No,
That will keep like at least 70%. So I don't think we need to discuss that.
yeah. Just I need your help.
Yeah.
Like this is let's say this is the less likely situation in which you assign the whole space to someone
I
else.
agree.
Less likely. Just to be able to secure this funding, let's say, what about 7 years?
Because we have already agreed that we can, like the maximum that we're gonna sublet is 20%. So you know that I'll
Yeah, but
like
my understanding is that we were treating this as separate classes. Like if you want to join,
so you say like yeah, but you can still assign the whole thing
Exactly.
to someone else before that happens,
Yes.
and that won't be like a sublet. That will be an assessment. Okay, I
yeah,
see.
this is the case.
I see what you mean. 7 years is at least is a bit too much. I think you can do better than that, considering how much.
Come on, I started in 15%. You can be
50 years is like
need some concession.
I think you already a lot of concessions.
Like the ideal for me was 10 years, just in years. But seven, I understand. I think 7 years,
I can do 3.
it's a good business case for you. I don't think that you can have a business case for 3 years. Like that's not
No, but
that's not feasible. Like in
Again.
3 years, you're just starting to do your operations, to start ramping up your sales, finish your investments.
I agree, but like you have also to consider that we are a multinational chain, and I'm not the one sitting in the strategy room saying where we should invest. Like I just look at the stuff and I tell them like this is a good location, and I was part in selecting this as a good location, good demographics. But corporate strategy could change.
No, but
And-
let's be reasonable. I understand what you're saying.
I think
But
3 years.
at least, I mean, I'm not in your business, but at least I've never seen any department store that has been in one place for 3 years and then out.
Yeah, I agree. So you should be fine with that.
But I need to sell this, like, this
But
is,
this is 3 years commitment. You have done already all your funding. Like the whole thing will be already operational.
it doesn't work. Like, my funding partner is not gonna give me the money if I only have 3 years of your brand.
You
On
have
paper.
already secured satellites that are global brands just because we showed interest.
Yeah.
Because we still haven't signed the lease.
Yeah, but if you leave, then these companies are likely to leave also.
Not necessarily. considering that we are going to do all this. So I don't see this like really as something that I can tie myself to. Like I can do like 3 years, but just to give you like what you were saying, just commitment that at least in the initial part where you need the funding, you're going to be covered. And you're going to be covered because this is already 3 years, so everything will be already there. And I mean,
Come on, like I'm in a 30-year business, 3 years.
3 years, I mean, we are already committing ourselves for 30 years. Like, why shall I also commit myself to stay in business for sure without giving out like without changing the assignment for 3 years? I'm already committing myself to 30 years.
I mean, from my point of view, like 3 years for you in a 3-year investment is not realistic. That's why I say you can say, okay, I'm gonna be there 7 years. That's a
But
realistic.
everyone knows that like this is again like the worst case scenario.
Yeah,
If you have already attracted those global brands just by us showing interest, I don't think anyone will be interested in how long we'll stay in. Like we'll have to stay there.
they
You
do.
showing like the name, like you have already attracted the top brands.
Yeah, but I need the funding. Like I'm in the same position as I am with you with the other companies.
And the
But my funding is really locked in to your brand, to your.
and we are going to sign hopefully this agreement. So like you will have a piece of paper that says Summit has agreed to be here, like to lease the space for 30 years.
Yeah, but this is not what my funding is after for. Like
Yeah,
he wants.
they want to see a brand.
They want to
Be
see
part of
around
like
and-
the big development.
Yeah,
I'm
they
already
want
there.
to see that our business, the business we're trying to run here, we'll be able to make these payments back, right?
Yeah.
And that's only possible if we have your brand.
Or other brands with the same rating with the right brand that you see feasible.
Yeah.
So
But this is the other brand, and this is not known, right? This is something that's uncertain. Like if everything goes right, you're gonna be there,
exactly.
and if it doesn't go right, then
Then I'm giving you the security
but
that
then the exposure of my funding partner is very big.
I think so because already with the contract, like we would be,
Because
you would be covered.
the contract is only something in paper, but the operation and the business is something different, right?
It's a contract.
Yeah, that's why they want to see in contract some in paper, some security, something that says, okay, a serious investment, this is a serious project, and it's not people just trying to test out possibilities in the market.
Everyone knows us. Everyone knows our brand. We don't just get into like a lease contract of 30 years just because we want to test the waters. If we sign a 30 years contract,
Okay,
it's because we're committed.
then commit. Like I think
I'm
it's
already committed. It's a 30 years contract.
30-year contract where you can just give your operation to someone else and forget about it. Like that's the thing.
It's not bad because I'll have to find someone with my same credit rating, and we will have to jointly decide what's
And
the right
still,
brand to replace us.
still you're out of the contract. Like you're out of the 30 years and you give your to someone else. And that's why we need this to secure our funding. Like 50
Well,
years,
yeah.
7 years, I think it's a nice time for you.
Like, and really, like, I'm coming from the place where none of this is usually in our contracts. Like, once we do this, we always agree on maximum flexibility. We can run our show the way we want to. And so, I mean, we have already decided that we're going to do a lot of joint decisions. We will have to find someone with the same credit rating. We have split the sublet in different percentages throughout the years. So, I mean, I think you have our commitment.
You're having your flexibility, and
It's
you
not
can
like-
see it.
It's not our usual flexibility.
But you're having your flexibility, and you need to give me something. I need some some fixed timelines for my business to work out. Like you have flexibility here, you have flexibility out there,
But
you have
it's not-
flexibility in everything.
It's lower flexibility than what we normally have.
Yeah.
That's what I'm telling you.
Yeah, but we need each other. That's the thing that I
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
we need each other for this to work out. So, if I can get this, let's say, security at the beginning of my business, I'm okay with all this flexibility and all that you need to run a successful business.
Use 7C3. It's a shame that, like, after all what we discussed, like, this is the last point that we're spending so much time on. What the assignment for, like, can you do anything better than that? Maybe, like, we'll settle it that way.
What?
Can we do anything better than that? Because here already, like, I'm gonna be able to do like 70%, which is already 30% lower of what we normally do, only by year 25 to 30.
Okay, let's say 5 years. I think that's a nice time frame, and it's a nice midpoint between this part of the arrangement and this.
All right, so for the first 5 years, we won't be able to assign it to anyone, and the maximum we can sublet for the first 5 years is 20%.
Yes.
All right? The rest is fine.
The rest is okay for me.
Let's shake hands.
It was a pleasure.
You are a really tough negotiator. Congrats. All right, well, let's write. I can draft like the contract, and we can review it together, and we can sign it for like the last 5 minutes.
Sure.
All right.